All right, I'm here for episode of Build Upon the Good, and I'm actually really excited for the two guests I have today. Normally with Build Upon the Good, we're focusing on families, so actually individuals and talking about their families and generations. But what we're going to go into a little bit more is looking at it from a much bigger picture, which is something that exactly relates to the Build Upon the Good theme. And in this case, I'm going to talk to two people from the Navy SEAL Foundation, which is a 501c3, which for you IRS people is a code, meaning it's a nonprofit organization. They do great things. One of their sort of taglines is honoring our warriors and supporting their families. So it fits in perfect with what we're trying to do here with Built Upon the Good. So the two people I have, which I'll introduce in a second, is Kean, the CEO, and Chris Irwin, who's the sort of director of the strategic partnerships. When it comes to the Navy SEAL Foundation, it's actually pretty amazing. I've researched a lot of different things and looking at different organizations I could talk to and things that really kind of hit home. And without question, this foundation did. Simply because I saw the power that they would deliver to the families of fallen SEALs and SEALs that are going through things right now as well. So from a family perspective, it was perfect. This is their 20th anniversary, which again is a pretty big milestone. Congratulations on that for all that you do. And another thing coming from a financial background, I was actually very impressed to see that they're a 4-star rating with one of the big charity watchdogs out there, Charity Navigator. It's a pretty high honor. And you can correct me when we get into it, but I think the last thing I read was maybe 93 cents roughly on the dollar goes to current programs. And if you're not aware of not-for-profits, that's pretty outstanding. So that's something to be proud of. And anyone that's listening, you definitely want to check that out. So what I'll do now is I'll introduce the two guests. First, Robin King, she's the Chief Executive Officer, and Chris Irwin. So Robin, if you can just give us a little background of professionally and family if you want, and then what led you to the Navy SEAL Foundation?
Well, it's really interesting that you talked about families because family's what led me here. I married my high school sweetheart who got his degree in commercial photography, and we were living in Pasadena. He was shooting pictures, album covers, stuff for magazines, and his older half brother was a SEAL, and he went and visited him one weekend and came home from that trip and said, "I want to be a SEAL. I've always wanted to be a SEAL." And I was like, excuse me, what was that middle part? So after a lot of discussion, it was apparent that was just something we had to do. I mean, it's a calling for these guys, right? It's something that you have to accomplish. And so we, as a family, went down that path, and he made it through, and he's still active duty today. And so we were in San Diego for a while. Then we went to Virginia Beach, and we came back here. And during that whole process, I was introduced to the UDC SEAL Association, which is a fraternal order of SEALs. And out of that group, the Navy SEAL Foundation grew. There was a group of guys that really saw that there were some other needs that needed to be filled. And it was really initially in just the educational area. And we started with, $14,000 back in 2000. And last year we supplied more than $17 million in program support in just the 1 year.
Wow.
So it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
And I was just lucky to be on the ground floor with those guys when it started. And I happened to be the last man standing somehow.
Wow. Wow, that's great. I didn't know actually that background. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Every now and then I get angry at my husband for doing this life to me, but most of the time it's been great.
Great, thank you. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to the Navy Foundation?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a retired SEAL, 14 years active duty, 6 in reserves. I got off active duty 2011 and retired from the reserves in 2017. When I got off active duty, I really didn't know what I was going to do from a professional standpoint, but through some different things along the way, I eventually ended up at a company called Killcliff, which is a recovery drink. And now they make other drinks as well at this point, but a healthy sports drink company, startup. And it was founded by another SEAL, a guy named Todd Ehrlich. He hired me as the president to kind of help get things going there and run the ship. I didn't know anything about beverages. I didn't know anything about small business. I didn't have an MBA, but I was really excited about the sort of mission of the company, which was to be the largest contributor to the Navy SEAL Foundation, which I had never considered as a thing, really. Like, I hadn't thought of business in the outside world having sort of a nonprofit charitable mission baked into the DNA of the company. And that is what Todd founded that company with the intention of doing. So that really appealed to me. I was like, wow, that's really cool. You can do something that's charitable with a for-profit entity. And on top of that, I just loved what he was doing with the brand too. It was really cool. It was very irreverent. And I thought it was just, so I had a great time there over 5 years as president. But early on, we were supporting the foundation as best we could. And we got an audience with Robin, with some other folks. I think this was end of 2014, if my memory is correct and my math. We were able to meet up about forming an actual partnership. And so we made that happen, which was great. So we were at Killcliff. We were the first corporate partner of the foundation. And we were sort of committed to just contributing as much as we could on a monthly and annual basis. And so anyway, so I did that for 5 years, and then I left in early 2018. And about 6 months later, I was lucky enough to be offered a job at the foundation, working the other side of things. So I came over and was kind of like, let's replicate that. Let's do a lot more partnership development. And so I've been lucky enough to do that for the last 2 years, and I love it. I mean, it's just it's something I find very fun and impactful in a way that in sort of from a kind of a marketing perspective that you can't necessarily get in any other way. And so that's what I do.
It's unique. Like we talked before, you mentioned, obviously, if someone wants to write a check and things like that, of course, you're there to help distribute that money and help with programs. But I like the idea, what you mentioned with Killcliff. It's a total different angle. It kind of empowers the businesses to really do good. And build a great partnership. So right now, Robin, if you can, do you mind telling us, really go into what you do at the Navy SEAL Foundation, all the benefits and things like that? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. The foundation operates under 5 main pillars of support. Educational opportunities, which is where we basically started. Tragedy assistance and survivor support. Warrior support and family services, which is really focused on our active duty. Transition assistance and veteran support, and legacy preservation, which we work with the Navy SEAL Museum on that. So underneath each of those areas is a number of programs that have really been specifically designed to fill the needs of the community. So we do a lot of time talking to our constituents, talking to leadership, hearing from the wives, talking to kids, dealing with the needs of the Gold Star families. And we really have developed our programs based on all of that, including the science behind some of this, what someone suffering with grief, what really makes a difference in their lives. We bring these families together. What they do for each other is often so much more than we can actually do for them. So we lean on a lot of great information and experts as we go through our program development, because, I don't want to sit in an office and just say, I think we should do this or give them that. That really wouldn't be very impactful. And we found that, filling that need, bringing them together, having a retreat, having a father-daughter dance, those things are so much more impactful than writing someone a check, right? Somebody writes you a check, you don't remember even what you spent it on. I mean, there are times when that's important, and we certainly do that when there is a financial need, related to a death or a tragedy. But we're really focused on connecting with how we improve the lives longer term, and how we give these families and these warriors the tools they need to move forward. So on transition, it may be getting them with a great transition institute. There's so many universities that do fabulous things. We work with Dartmouth. They have a program at Tuck there that works with elite athletes and Olympians and like our special operators, and that stuff's all over the place. And so we really do a lot of research and try to bring the best of the best to our community. And the feedback we get is great. They bring us more information, and we always go research that and see if there's more things we should add to our toolkit. I'm just really proud of what we've done over these last 20 years. We've really flexed to the needs. We've learned from the families we've worked with. They've made us better. We have an incredible board who makes us better, incredible supporters who are, not shy about saying, have you thought about helping in this way? Or I can bring this particular, modality or something to you so that you can help your families better. And we're just so thankful for the incredible support we have. And the community we work with is just, the sacrifices they deal with, the stresses they deal with are really unimaginable if you haven't lived through them. And they do it with immense grace.
Yeah, that's amazing. I actually, in a good way, I went down a rabbit hole of watching videos with Navy SEAL Foundation, looking up information. And that is, to begin with, obviously I was in awe of everything, but when I really kind of dug into it deeper and deeper and had conversations with Chris too, it just really, I don't know, you deal with a lot of different not-for-profits, but it really hit home the magnitude and the power that you can bring the benefits to the family. So it hit me instantly and very deep. I mean, there were, just different stories about it. And when coming back to Built on the Good and the legacy, that's where you see it. One thing I love is it's not just providing now. It's you're trying to actually build that legacy. You're trying to honor someone, maybe if it's a fallen SEAL, but for longer term. But you're also looking, how can we strengthen that family now? And
and to make sure they understand they're part of this community. Forever, we are their family. They are part of Naval Special Warfare through the Navy SEAL Foundation. We have the opportunity to do things and offer things that the government just can't do, and we're really honored to get to fill that role.
Yeah, and actually, even just so Chris, you talked about SEALs, they don't refer. I mean, I've been lucky to kind of talk to a few people, and never once is it about them. And Chris, it's okay if I say this. When I talk to him right away, he's like, I'm not talking about SEAL stuff. I mean, just let's talk about the foundation. That's what I wanted. And to me, I love that. It shows the power. This is legit. This is a real thing here that we're looking at. You're looking to really strengthen these families, and everything's referred to as a team, and you're as one. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you guys do and that you've done and you continue to do for the foundation for all those families. The one thing, if I go back to Chris, on when you mentioned Killcliff, that sort of model of looking to have a not-for-profit sort of business help partner with the Navy SEAL Foundation. Is there, going forward, if anyone listens to this or help spread the word too as well, what's the best way to use that angle so that from that business has an opportunity to help donate and support the SEAL Foundation? Should they reach out to you and kind of go over some ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love it. It makes my job easier, right? If they're reaching out to me. Yeah, I mean, I think the best one is that, I think for any business out there, social purpose these days is a great thing to have if you don't already have it. A lot of businesses do, right? But I think more and more consumers are looking at who they support, what businesses, what products they buy. Is there social purpose behind that? And is it, and so just in general, I think that's a good thing, right? There's sort of no downside to it, right? It's obviously good for whatever purpose you are supporting. It's good for your employees. I mean, part of the thing that was so great at Killcliff about it was you have a mission, right? You have a mission other than just building the company and having a great work environment and a product you believe in. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you have an actual mission that you are behind.
Yeah, you're working with a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that that's a great thing for any company out there. And then the beauty of it is it's really open-ended too, right? What I try to do with companies is very much approach them from hey, what is it? How can we work together? It is a partnership in a way that's going to obviously benefit what we do at the foundation, but benefit you as well. And there's no cookie cutter that we're trying to put everybody through to be like, okay, here's exactly how we set up a partnership and we just run it down the assembly line. This is something we want to look at you as a company, make sure that we are aligned in our mission, right? And that's very important for us. But beyond that, it's like, hey, let's get creative with this, right? And I approach each one of these differently in terms of the needs of that company and how we can go about making something that's unique to that particular partnership.
Yeah. for one thing I want to end with, I always, when I talk to families and kind of do this from that side of it, build upon the good, I always end with something because I think it's kind of a powerful statement. Is you just ask if you're able to leave one or two things. Essentially, if you were able to pass something down, the next generation could inherit something from you, and that's where the build upon the good comes from, and they can kind of step up and go from there. What is one or two things that you would want to help maybe leave behind or hope for the next generation to kind of keep running the Navy SEAL Foundation? Even though everyone's going to be here a long time, but that's the idea. I was wondering what's something you really see as important for the next step. And Robin, I'll start with you.
I think listen more, talk less. I think it's really important to listen, and transparency, to be really transparent on everything you do. You're not going to fail, especially with your partners, and everybody wants to support you if you're really explaining to them why you do what you do, have philosophies behind it, and have completely open, books and information on what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to do that. I think those two things have helped make the foundation how great it is today. And I'm proud of this.
You should be. Yes, it should be. Great thing. Thank you, Rob. Chris, is there anything that you'd like to, one or two things you think about maybe?
Yeah, I think with any organization, you got to constantly evolve, right? I think that as soon as you remain stagnant and be like, well, we're going to do it this way, and 30 years from now, we're still going to be doing that way because it's the way we always did it, is not the way to approach things, right? Demands change, everything, the only constant is change, right? So being able to, and look, the whole epidemic that we're dealing with right now is a perfect example of that, right? Like you have to evolve with what's going on in the current environment. And that's a really big sort of, change that people have got to adjust to, but there's smaller ones all the time. So, I mean, one of the things I think we're really good at is sort of always assessing, like, hey, are we addressing the right needs, right? Is everything we're doing sort of like still relevant and all of that, and constantly trying to make sure that we're up with everything that's the current kind of needs that are out there, right?
Yeah. Well, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for all that you've done. Chris, thank you for obviously serving, and for everything you bring to the table, both of you. I just really appreciate it. From sort of an outside looking in, I can't stress enough, anyone that's listening or anything that's shared from here, please go to NavySealFoundation.org. And actually, this all kind of happened through LinkedIn, ironically. That's how I kind of connected with Chris and started connecting with other people. And from there, so if you're on LinkedIn, follow their page. If you're on Instagram, Facebook, follow their pages. One thing that's been very moving and it really shows, kind of really sets in, is sad, but it's a good way to honor the fallen SEALs, is when you actually post on social media, basically remember my name, remember these SEALs that have served and have lost their lives protecting us. And that is very powerful. And just, follow that and help spread the word, anyone that's listening. So Robin, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all that you do. And you've been here, like I said, since the beginning. So thank you for that. Chris, thank you for serving. Thank you for all that you do. And if there's a build upon the good story in an organization, one I think everyone should look at. There's other events, quick, I mentioned. I know you do the Jogging for Frogmen 5K. There's things like that I believe, right, are linked into the Navy SEAL Foundation. Those are anything, if you go in there, if you're able to provide monetary support, if you have any services that might make sense, or businesses that are looking to do things, obviously contact Chris as well. And there's a way there to set up sort of a really unique gifting strategy and donation strategy. And Robin, Chris, thank you so much for your time. I'm honored and grateful that you took it to spend with me today. So I wish you all the best, and the Navy Foundation as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.